Welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. If you're someone who loves to learn efficiently, who really craves structure, and who wants to finally master the nuanced, everyday realities of professional English, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, our goal is highly specific, but man, is it powerful. We are going to transform all that dense corporate vocabulary into a super practical, easy-to-use guide. We're going to walk through the entire career life cycle, tracking the exact phrasing you need from the very moment you apply for a role all the way to the day you reach the absolute peak of your profession.
But hey, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I want to ask you a quick question. It actually highlights one of the most common grammatical pitfalls out there. When someone asks what you do for a living, do you say you have a work or do you have a job? It sounds like such a simple distinction, right? But getting this wrong can instantly make you sound just a little bit unnatural in a professional setting. Okay, let's dive into this and clear it up once and for all.
Section 1. Job, work, or career. Building the foundation.
To communicate effectively in the business world, we first have to nail down the fundamental differences between these three words. Our source material maps this out beautifully through collocations. And if you aren't familiar, that's just a fancy linguistic term for words that naturally and habitually go together. Notice how the concepts of job, work, and career act as these central hubs, and they have very specific verbs branching off of them. It's like a giant puzzle. You don't just mix and match these words randomly, there are rules, and mastering these pairings is the real secret to sounding like a seasoned pro.
Let's separate the two main culprits here. When it comes to the word job, the absolute golden rule is that you say have a job. You do not say have a work. A job is a specific, countable role. You can apply for a job, you can have a demanding job, a high-power job, or a really steady job. On the flip side, work is generally uncountable. It's the actual activity, the sweat equity you put in. You carry out work, you supervise work, complete work, or take on work. Keeping these two distinct in your mind is your first major step to professional fluency.
Section 2. Decoding job adverts. Translating corporate jargon. So, once you know how to talk about having a job, the next logical step is actually finding one. But as anyone who has ever browsed job listings knows, the language used in these adverts can sometimes feel like a completely different dialect. Just imagine you're scrolling through a job board and you see this. Do you have a good knowledge of the fashion industry? Are you a good team player? We can offer you job satisfaction and generous benefits. I mean, it all sounds wonderful, doesn't it? But what do these fluffy corporate phrases actually mean when we strip away the marketing speak? Let's translate.
First up, we have the incredibly ubiquitous good team player, or sometimes you'll see it written as being an integral part of a close team. So the crucial point is that this simply means a person who cooperates well with other people. They aren't looking for a lone wolf here. They want someone who communicates effectively, shares the workload, and doesn't cause drama or friction within the department.
Then we have generous benefits. Now, while job satisfaction means you'll hopefully enjoy the day-to-day work in a stimulating environment, generous benefits refers to the tangible rewards beyond just your base salary. This is a massively important collocation to know when you're negotiating. It translates to things like getting a company car, a fantastic health insurance plan, or a really good holiday entitlement. Essentially, it's the whole shebang, your total compensation package.
Finally, you might see the phrase, vacancy must be filled within 3 weeks. This denotes urgency. A vacancy is an empty position, and filling it means the job must be formally offered to someone, and that person must accept it. Well, let's imagine for a second that our applicant successfully navigated all this jargon, applied, and actually landed the job.
Section 3. Daily Office Tasks. A Day in the Life of Bella.
To really ground these next collocations in reality, let's follow Bella, a fantastic personal assistant, through her morning routine. Bella is essentially the backbone of her office, because she is tasked with taking charge of her boss, who, frankly, is not a very organized person at all. First thing in the morning, Bella makes a list of everything she needs to do. She ensures nothing goes wrong. Then she fields telephone calls, and she makes appointments for her boss. Notice the specific verbs we're using here. She makes a list, and she makes appointments.
I actually want to pause on that middle task for a second, fielding telephone calls. This doesn't just mean she's casually answering the phone. Fielding calls is a highly strategic action. It means Bella is acting as a filter. She deals with all the calls she can handle herself, solving problems on the spot, and only putting the absolute most urgent, critical calls through to her boss. She is literally shielding him from distractions. As we move into the afternoon, the responsibilities just keep coming. Bella arranges meetings, she takes the minutes. If her boss has to travel, she makes the reservations. And if he has a big presentation, she makes all the preparations required, including making photocopies of any necessary papers. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer volume of verbs we associate with office management: arranging, taking, making.
Let's define another highly specific office task from that list: taking the minutes. If you are ever asked to take the minutes in a corporate setting, it means you are responsible for keeping the official, written record of everything discussed, decided, and actioned during a meeting. It requires incredible attention to detail, which, as we're quickly learning, Bella has in spades.
A quick summary of Bella's organizational habits paints a picture of a highly competent professional. She keeps a record of everything she does, she sets herself targets, and she does her best to achieve her goals. By looking at these exact collocations, keeping records, setting targets, achieving goals, we get the distinct impression that Bella is incredibly driven. She is clearly destined for much more than just managing someone else's chaotic schedule.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Section 4. Making career moves, the big twist. Now it's time to look at the macro level, the overall trajectory of a professional life. When you first start out, you embark on a career. If you show some real talent, people might say you have a promising career. When things start to get really successful, your career takes off. As you get promoted over the years, you climb the career ladder, until eventually you find yourself at the height or at the peak of your career. It's an entire journey of upward momentum.
Which brings us to the dramatic, incredibly empowering twist in our story with Bella today. Remember how organized and driven she is? Well, the very first thing on her carefully made list this morning isn't making photocopies or fielding calls. The first item is, hand in my notice. No, she isn't taking early retirement. Actually, Bella has landed a brand new job where she is going to be the boss, and she will have her very own PA to field calls for her. Her career has truly taken off.
To formally define this excellent phrase, to hand in your notice means to officially resign. It is the act of informing your boss that you are planning to stop working for them, usually giving them a contractual period of time to find a replacement. And you just have to laugh, right? Imagine her completely disorganized boss trying to function tomorrow without his star PA keeping his records and making his appointments.
And that brings us to the end of our journey through the professional life cycle today. We've covered everything from the fundamental difference between work and a job to translating generous benefits to successfully climbing that career ladder. So I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. Where do you currently sit on your own career ladder? Are you just embarking on it? Are you steadily climbing? Or are you preparing to hand in your notice to take a massive leap forward just like Bella? Take these phrases, apply them to your own amazing journey, and keep striving for those targets. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.